funny, when I'm doing a presentation and I want to follow a link, I know it's supposed to work, but the easiest way I found to do it is to turn it into a PDF, and you can follow the link from a PDF. But the problem is, then the formatting for your PowerPoint doesn't work in the same way. So there's some other great way to do it. I just don't know what.
Yeah, I thought that I could just. Okay. Okay, so while this runs through, my name's Kiley and I am graduating in May. So I chose to do my thesis on bullying in the classroom just because I feel that it's a really relevant topic right now and is something that, yeah.
Okay.
I can go get. Let me go get.
You want to go get Josh? You can talk.
Okay. So. Does it work over here?
Is it that thing?
I don't know. But I think it's not making any noise over here.
But I chose to do my thesis on bullying for a few different reasons. I think that it's something very important to know about. Just as an educator, it's going on. It's becoming a big media frenzy, and the problem isn't going away. That will always be something going on in schools, no matter what. So that's one reason I chose to do it. I also am not really, I'm not like Danielle in the sense that I like to sit down and read a bunch of, maybe it's probably not her favorite thing to do, but she's better at sitting down and reading a bunch of literature and research pieces and crunching those numbers, and that's just not the way I operate. So I wanted to do something that I could be a little more creative with and have a little more flexibility with, just because it suits my personal style a little bit better. Is it good to go?
Turn the volume on down here.
You can't get the thing to
But it won't. Yeah.
That's where you got me.
Oh, that's interesting.
We don't like interesting.
Everyone, this is Josh. He takes care of our tech problems here at Bellin.
I see Sam. That down and to the right.
The last couple of days, we had heard that Tyler had his head shoved into a wall locker. He said he's a geek.
My concern is that you were making someone feel so uncomfortable they didn't want to be in school.
I feel kind of nervous going to school because I like learning, but I have trouble with making friends.
They said he's a geek. Some kids had told him he was worthless to go hang himself. And I think he got to the point to where enough was enough.
Tonight, a tragic situation.
A Perkins boy, just 11 years old, believed to have been desperate enough to take his own life.
This is an awfully complicated and difficult issue.
Kids will be kids, boys will be boys. They're just cruel at this age.
Here what we get is nothing's wrong, we didn't do anything, everything's fine.
They punch me, strangle me, take things from me, sit on me.
Give it to him hard!
He's not safe on that bus. I've been on that bus. They are just as good as gold.
My voice is not going to fall silent. I will go to my grave until a difference is made.
We reached out to parents that have lost kids, parents of kids that are being bullied all over the world. and it took off like wildfire.
All it takes is for one person to stand up.
Be the difference. Go out and find that one child, that new kid standing over there by himself. Be willing to stand up for him.
Everything starts with one and builds up. Eventually we have an army.
If we all do it together, we will change the world.
Okay, so that, as you can tell, it is becoming a big, that was from the documentary called Bully, and it was a big reason that I decided to do my thesis on this subject. It's a powerful thing, and like I said, it's gaining a lot of media attention, and it's becoming very important for educators to know about and be aware of some strategies to help manage bullying and prevent that in their school system and in their classroom. So that's why I chose to do it, and also, like, I'll talk more a little bit about, so I said thinking outside of the box is something that I had to do when choosing my thesis, just because, like I said, I am not one to sit down and read long articles and write a bunch of things. That's just not the way I operate. So for me to be successful doing that, it just wasn't going to happen, so I had to find a way. And I worked with Kirsten and a lot with Brittany on deciding what I would do for my research topic. And bullying is just something that interests me, and I could be more creative with it. So I ended up choosing to do a blog about bullying, and I would post every week a new informational blog about something that I had read or important information that I found online. Stuart helped me a lot with that, and I'll talk a little more about it, but that's what I decided to do. Don't just settle for writing a paper. You don't have to do it that way. They're great with working with you guys to make you the most successful, and you don't have to just sit down and write a paper. If that's not something that you find interesting, then don't do it. You have freedom here, and they help you to choose something that'll make you most successful. So, like Danielle said, I didn't really understand what a mentor was going to do for me in this program, and I didn't really think that I needed any help. You know, I could handle it. But once I started digging into the process a little bit more, who would know information about bullying, who could help me be successful in this as a mentor, and Kirsten actually mentioned working with Stuart Ely. And I had taken a class with him before, and I always remembered how many people and how many resources he would show us during class or sending out emails. And he was wonderful to work with throughout this process. He definitely helped me, and he provided me with a lot of resources I wouldn't have found otherwise. So it is important to the process, picking a mentor that's going to help you really be successful in this process. So, you know, if you have a professor in mind that you have a connection with, a personal interest with, something like that, they specialize in some areas that you are more interested in finding out about, I would definitely pursue that. One way that I also found Stuart was by talking to the people in the TLC. They have a lot of resources because of all the different things that they do there. They have all those events. So they bring in people who have a variety of backgrounds, and they have a lot of resources that they could direct you to as well. So that's how I came about picking my mentor. So what Stuart and I did, like Danielle said, we sat down and had an initial meeting, and I told him my idea, and he said, I think it's great, let's run with it. So I started a blog, and throughout the process, it definitely evolved a lot and changed a lot, and I'll show you the finished product here in a little bit. But Stuart and I set up regular meetings, so I met with him once a week for 30 minutes. It's not a huge time commitment, but it is important, I think, to have those structured meeting times. It helped me a lot to stay focused and not put things off. So then that way I was held accountable too. by Stuart. So it really worked out well. I would suggest setting up those regular meeting times just to keep you guys on the same page and moving forward in your process. So I will show you the blog here in just a second. Okay, so this is the blog that I came up with, and every week Stuart and I would talk about what do you want to do for next week? What would you like to write about? We've talked about this. Maybe it would be good to mention something else. So then he provided me with a book all about bullying and strategies that you can use in your classroom. So a lot of the posts that I have are from that, but I also have different resources. He gave me online articles and a bunch of different things that I could use for this. So he was a big help. But every week I would post a new one. Sometimes I would post more than one if I was able to get that all done. But the website itself has evolved a lot throughout the process. Like Danielle said, it wasn't something that just came out looking like this. I had a different template at first, and it just wasn't as user-friendly and didn't look as... It looked a lot more adult. Like, I wanted kids to be able to find this more relatable. Like, it's something that I wanted to be a little more user-friendly, and something that kids could use as a resource. Like, for example, one of my posts was all about using literature in the classroom. One of the questions was about how to make this topic more relevant for kids and more relatable for kids. And that's something that I wanted to do with the blog. So for one way that you can do that is by using literature in your classroom that is specific to bullying. There are so many books, children's books out there that do have themes of bullying in them now. And that's one way that you can incorporate that for a younger kind of audience. So this is just what it looks like. It goes down. I have a lot of different, I wanted to incorporate some video and not just all writing. These are some of the resources that Stuart gave me on the side, and I wanted to link my blog with other blogs that people would want to see if they're searching this topic, that chances are they're going to want to find more information about it. So I linked my blog with other resources, which is what I gave you guys a link to. But I mean, there is just a whole world of information out there on this, and I thought it was great to research. So this has things for the teachers and just so many different kind of websites. It's not all about bullying. It just has to do with education in general, but it does have bullying occasionally. So these are some of the links. Children in the Law blog was a really good one. And it just has, these are all other blogs too. So I wasn't expecting blogging to be as big of a topic as it really was. But don't limit yourself, because you might be surprised what you'll find. So that was my blog. But writing your thesis. So I speak from experience when I say don't put it off. Really don't. It'll cause you stress in the end, I promise you. I am experiencing that right now, like crunch time, and I got to get going on it. Mine is a little bit different from Danielle's, I'll say, just because a lot of Danielle's thesis is the writing, but I've already done some of that writing. I spread it out week by week. So my blog is a big part of my thesis. So now I'll just have to go back and provide some of that information that I'm telling you guys about. This was my process. This is how I did it. These are resources that I used. and then I insert the writing I've already done. But Danielle had to put her thesis is all of the writing. Mine was spread out week by week. So that's what I mean by choose something that will work for your individual style, because this is a much better way for me to finish a thesis. So I would just say, I would suggest either setting up regular meetings to continue with your mentor even after you're done with the bulk of the research and things like that, but continue meeting with them. I wasn't able to with Stuart just because I'm off-site for student teaching, but if you're close enough, I would suggest maybe every couple of weeks. It doesn't have to be an every week thing, but it would be good to continue meeting with them because that's going to hold you accountable, like I said earlier. Or I would suggest over break would be a great time to get a lot of it done and get a good jump on it instead of just waiting till the end, kind of like myself. So, any questions?
When did you choose your topic?
Also in the spring. I kind of had talked to Brittany quite a bit about what I wanted to do.
Brittany was our practicum student last spring, so she took a lot of the HOP responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I began working with Brittany, and then when she left, transferred over, and Kirsten kind of took on that responsibility. So I had kind of started talking about it with Brittany in the fall, and then cleared it with Kirsten and just got going on it in the spring. So that's when I started meeting with Stuart, was this fall. I knew what I wanted to do in the spring, had it all, I had met with him, and he had said that he would be my mentor, and then in the fall we set up our regular meeting time. So in the fall was when I really started writing, but I knew what I wanted to do by the end of the school year. So.
And one of the things that I'd like you to think about for a minute and comment on, it used to be that HOP, that every week we'd bring in somebody from the faculty.
We're going to do evaluations next week.
Right. So we used to bring, like we might have invited Dr. Ely in to talk about, research on bullying, or Dr. Fielding might come in. We would have faculty come in and talk about the research they did. And many of them weren't from TNL. Many of them were from some of the other programs. So you might hear somebody like Dr. Wood talk about counseling issues, or somebody from rehab talk about their program and the research they were doing. So you got to hear a lot of potential mentors, and you might even hear somebody and go, oh, well, I could just join their research because that sounds really cool. But when we were doing it that way, we realized that you weren't learning anything about like writing your own thesis. Because a lot of the mentors didn't really have time to take you through IRB, and so we've kind of flipped it now, and you're not really hearing from many of the faculty about their research. And so when you're doing your evaluation, I'd just like to know, and you've already done your evaluation, but when you're doing an evaluation, I've wondered if maybe we should actually make this course 2 hours, and not that you would meet more, but that we could have like dyads, pairs of you, or whatever, interview faculty about their research. Then we'd build up a research bank of where you could watch somebody talk about their research, something like that, just so that you've got a blend of the two, because it's hard to help you know what is the lit review, and maybe a little bit of extra time to bounce ideas off of each other for your thesis and that sort of thing. But how do we, in a 1 credit hour class, how do we possibly find enough time to see who's doing what research, what might you want to do, and how do you do it? So I just wonder if we need more time.
Yeah, and I would also say, speaking of IRB, to try and avoid that as much as possible. Like, pick something where you're not even going to have to deal with that. Would be a wonderful choice. So.
And a lot of things that we can do are expedited, so that they shouldn't take much time, and it's okay to go through the process, but indeed, I confess I've been looking for things that you can do without having to go through IRB. But it's a good process, there's a good reason for doing it, but it does take that extra time.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.
And what are you doing next year?
Well,
You're figuring it out?
The job hunt is stressful, and I'm planning on, I have an interview tomorrow, so I won't probably be sleeping tonight. But I have an interview tomorrow at Pella for a middle school language arts position. and I've applied a bunch of places, but everyone's, you'll find out, at such different stages. I think in Iowa, we tend to work a little bit slower. I'm not looking to go out of the state like Danielle. I need to stay around here, so then that kind of limits your search. But everyone is at really different stages at all times with the process. Some people have already hired. Some people are just now accepting applications. Other people have applications and won't call for interviews for a while. It's crazy. So, yeah, just waiting on all that to figure itself out.
Good luck, Kyle.
Right.
Thank you.
Do you need your jump drive?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we have 11 minutes left. And I know you sent me an email about questions about next week.
Yes.
I have not read it.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me what? So next week is going to be different than all of our preceding weeks, or weeks we already had. You're going to come in, you'll present your, and by present I mean not like this, but kind of like more sitting down, and you're just going to say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. So you'll do that. It's, I believe it's 1 to 2 pages double spaced. Is that accurate? Times New Roman, 12, 1-inch margins. All that should be on your syllabus. So we're going to do those, and then we'll do some, we might have a mini lesson on that stuff that I was talking about last week. And then we will either do an evaluation here, or I'll give you the link and you have to do it. I haven't figured out how I'm going to monitor that since they're anonymous. But when I figure that out, I'll let you know. So that's what's going on for next week. Do you want to ask your questions?
Oh, I was just, I have no idea what I want to do, so.
All right, we'll talk afterwards and have a meeting with you afterwards.
Yeah.
Any questions? And then we'll be done. No final. You'll be done. Done, done, done. Cross that off your list.
So then last week, or next week is the last week?
I think so. Isn't it? Because then the following week is finals.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yes. This is how spring semester goes. It takes forever and then it ends all of a sudden.
Which is, again, that point about not waiting to start writing, because all of a sudden you turn around and it's due when?